we've done for the last 2-3 years to obviously discuss people's thoughts, feelings, whatever, and how we're going to direct our department heads, which I believe they're all here anyways, which is good, but obviously to give them some idea of how they create their budget, okay? How is everyone feeling? As we all know, we're in a default budget. Some of our department heads are kind of taking slack from residents who want things done, but obviously we're in a default. And obviously if anyone is on Facebook or anything, we're all hoarding money, okay, which is unfortunate, all right? We've
And embezzling.
Oh, and yeah, embezzling. I mean, we obviously run a tight ship and have. Felt that we kept everything pretty much under control, and then obviously this past year. But if anyone went to the school meeting, as we all know, that went right through, and there was a fairly large increase, far larger than what the town has ever asked for anything. So I think Alicia's got some numbers. You know, we'll try to, I guess what I need to do is that Colleen needs to take minutes, and I think I've read a little statement the last few meetings. We have to keep discussion amongst ourselves kind of under control because she can't hear to be able to take the minutes, all right? And we'll obviously give everyone a chance to speak or help us so that we have direction, and the budget committee has a direction, and the department heads have a direction, and we'll move forward, I guess.
And please state your name if you do speak.
Oh, okay, in case well, most everyone, but please state your name.
And it is being recorded
All right.
and viewed live.
Oh, okay, so that will be important because it may not show up on the camera, so it will be. And if you do want to speak, come to the podium, then we're sure to get names. And Masha, right over here, we saved you a seat. Alicia, do you want to start out? Or?
Yeah, if you would like, I can update you on some numbers where we just to update everyone where we're at after the March town meeting. So our 2024 proposed operating budget was $10,673,153, and that failed by 77 votes. The 24 proposed warrant articles were $3,584,729. The 2024 default with the approved cost items, and the cost items were the 2 union contracts, were $10,475,355. So that essentially, that 10,475 is what the town is working with as far as a operating budget. The unapproved warrant articles totaled $1.335 million. Those funds we cannot move from one capital reserve fund to another, and we can't move funds from the operating account to make up that 1.3, just for reference. The water budget passed, the sewer budget passed. And then just a heads up, we have been tracking our progress as to where we are spent in the budget. So the last update was the end of June. So in theory, at the end of June, we should have been at 50%, and we are at 45%. So we are tracking and trending under our projected spent budget. Okay.
So I guess we're here as a board to, I mean, people must have some thoughts. I mean, we go Ron. I got the, go ahead, Ron.
Okay, well, I don't want to be a wet blanket, but talking about what the political situation is in the country and Deborah, I'm thinking back to Carter administration when we got in this kind of trouble again. straighten things out, that's probably what's gonna happen, so. And there are a lot of people that have been spending their credit cards to the limit. So there's gonna be a lot of pushback on probably, keeping the bottom line, basically. That's what I see is happening, because the country's not in a great place right now. And, well, you see the news every day, and I'm just feeling that's probably what's gonna happen. And where we, in the default, when we spent most of all our surplus from all the department heads trying to skinny everything down, that we're gonna have to catch back up again, but it's not gonna be easy. So, where they figured out how it worked last time, it may be in the cards this time, so we've gotta keep everything, and let everybody know where we stand, and the reason why we've got to, make increases, like, for example, you know, with highway block grant money and building the highways. You let that go for a few years and then you're in trouble, so I just wanna, put that out there that in the back of your mind, department heads and, everybody in the budget committee, that we're gonna start getting, when it comes fall, we'll be into that season, and everybody knows what's gonna be happening, so.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing too with that is already, I think somebody, Eversource is talking about what, a 49% increase, 40-something% increase, okay? And obviously we have to pay our electric bills. We have to work that into the budget. We have no control over health insurance, and we won't know that till fall. We have no control over insurance in general, I guess. You know, there's some things, unfortunately, that are gonna increase that we have no control over, all right? And again, we'll know that in the fall, but I know that we have, you know, we have a road that we didn't do this year, and people are hounding because why haven't we done that? But, oh, what do you mean the budget didn't pass? You get that a lot, all right? I don't know, we have the sewer project, the sewer line from Tilton right into 140, and we have no choice. They're talking, what was the last figure?
9.3 million. 9.3 million.
9.3 million. You know, now they've thrown it on us to try to go out and try to get grant money, which we know, we do that all the time, but it's not always there for us. And we're gonna get hit with that. That's gonna fall back on the ratepayers, because anytime we've put anything forward, it has failed when it comes to our water and our sewer. And how do we get out of that? We went to the state and asked for many different options, and they basically told us no. And it's out of our control, only because these were agreements signed. Help me, guys, when was the sewer built? When was?
23 years ago.
20
Yeah.
Was it 40?
It was in the 80s.
All right, and we have
It was
no
in the 70s.
control over that. I mean, we've gotta obviously.
But at that time, the Belmont Select Board turned down sewer and water down 106 to Belmont, not just down Route 3 where it comes. They turned it down. The Board of Selectmen said, no, thank you. In 1973, and said, no, thank you. We don't want the government to tell us we're gonna have this. And they offered to do that for 2 cents on a dollar.
Unfortunately, you can't cry over spilled milk.
You're absolutely
You
correct.
can't, you
But-
can't.
I mean,
But these are just kind of things
Oh,
that
yeah,
we've gotta.
And people say, why now? Well, they should have said yes then. Why wouldn't they have water and sewer?
Well, back then, because we got into trouble, in the Ford administration, they put out EDA funds, and that's how we got the water tank, and the water line ran down 106. Lou Welco wanted to extend it down Route 3, and at that time, as a water commissioner, we convinced him that it'd be best to spend and put a new water tank, because the other one we had was only 250,000 gallons, and it was an in-ground. And so that's what we used our
I think what I'm trying to express is I'm trying to at least let everyone know that these are some of the immediate things, okay? We did not replace, we've now got our police cruisers out of sync, so we're going to be running, I can't tell you exactly, but we're gonna be running cruisers that have outlived their life because we can't replace them because the budget did not pass. We have some fire department issues, I believe, that are gonna come forward. Highway, I think we're in pretty good shape if we ever get the truck. Right, we did get a dump truck through some grant monies, but trying to get it, it's like everything else, hurry up and wait. But these are kind of things that we're gonna have to, you know, we've gotta have, you know, it's the same thing. Everyone wants us to lower the tax rate, but God forbid if they need a policeman, God forbid if they need a fireman, or their road plowed or whatever, that doesn't come without a cost, okay? And now we're actually, in my mind, kind of gone backwards. Because it's default budget, we're in a default budget, in my brain, we've gone backwards because we have no means. We can't, you know, we're gonna be playing catch-up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
For you or the department heads, when the taxpayers are making these comments about things that aren't being done, I think a lot of people, when they look at, I wrote the numbers down, when you just look at the default budget and the proposed budget, they only see a $200,000 difference. They don't understand how it all works together.
I don't think they see
Are
that,
they
Tracy. I
stuck?
think they look at their tax bill.
I was saying, are people more educated to understand yet what they've done by voting it down? Or are we gonna be looking at the same thing?
Most people don't even know it got voted down.
They don't
It's
Well,
amazing.
I have a question. It's amazing that the people that are in this room tonight, that care about this town deeply, or they wouldn't be in this room tonight. The select board passed this budget, pushed it on, moved it along to the budget committee, and they passed it. The voters did not, and nobody could be probably more educated in the budget than the budget committee and the select board, and see the need, and this is not my first year doing this. But I think from now on, in the budget committee standpoint, and as far as the select board standpoint, when we push it on, I think we need a poll vote. And what a poll vote means, instead of just saying aye as a board, everyone signs their name. If we all vote aye, they're gonna ask Sharon, how did you vote? And that goes in the minutes. Same with the budget committee. I think this needs to be done. Because this past year, a lot of the hearsay, and I don't know if it's true or not, you know, Ruth uses a statement as saying, I've been told. Well, I've been told. But I can't pick somebody out that, I can name names. But they said, if you don't understand it, vote no. And I watch people, you sit there for 14 hours and watch people come in and vote, and there's no way they ever read those articles. They just went in and just voted no. And you sit there and sometimes you may see some of the X marks and it's all no. They didn't know, they just said no on everything. I think we have to get a hold of that, and when you have a poll vote, before you tell somebody to vote no, you voted yes. And we're the people that are voted in by the town to represent this town and to manage this town and hopefully run it as best we see fit as a group of smart individuals that have been here. And I think it's very important. We all have a job to do. And just to say, if you don't understand, vote no. Well, if you don't understand, ask the question.
Well, maybe it would at least lead to somebody asking a question saying, I know Mrs. Flack, I'll ask her why she voted yes on that because I didn't think I wanted to. And I saw that she did. Maybe it would, try and be positive, cause people to ask questions.
Because I've never seen so many no votes, and I watch people walk in there and walk out, now with all the articles. And I'm one who told the planning department this year, you put more than 4, you're gonna lose. Only because the people don't want that many. They wanna see it, whether you need them or not. They just wanna see, they want in and out of there. It's like their responsibility, but they want in and out. I watch people walk in and literally couldn't have possibly read any of them and walk back out with a voting and put their thing in the slot and then voting went through.
I agree with you, John. It also though falls on, I think, on both committees that we should be a little more political nuisance about it to our constituents and talk more about the budget, even if they don't talk to us first about it. And because I do agree people aren't educated, but also it falls on us to educate people on the budget.
Well, it's living proof. The school went up $4 million. Nobody said a word. Not a word. That's okay. And you guys in town, pretty tight budgets.
And everyone still thinks, no matter what, no matter how much we talk about it, that we control the school. I can't get that through anybody's head, you know?
I have one member that thinks that way.
It just, oh. Okay, Mark, get up with us.
Let me just say I'm sorry up front, okay? Given the schools an open-ended budget where they don't have to deal with the scarcity of taxpayer resources and not having the budget committee have really oversight or real input is the road to disaster. That's where I think there's gotta be cuts. Now, not easy, right? Here's what I'm thinking, and I'm sure I'll be hooted down to this. I say that we get our legal counsel to research county and state regulations to find a way to get that school administrative district budget under the budget committee for review and analysis. There's gotta be some fat in there. I've never seen a budget that can't be cut by 5 to 7%. Yes, it's gonna be painful, but it's not just about the beneficiaries, it's about the people who are funding it.
I'm gonna interrupt you only because we have,
I've already put it on record too that the school is gonna hate me for it anyways. We need to get a warrant article on the school, but on the school ballot to have a budget committee for the
a
school.
voting budget.
So it'd be
Voting.
constituents of the town that actually do the budget for like you guys, but for the school itself. But it has to go through a warrant article process.
But I think it should be under the budget committee.
Well, it can't be because they're a separate government entity.
That's why we need legal counsel to find some way to get it to.
In New Hampshire, there is no way. They are a separate government entity, period, from us.
That is something, unfortunately, Mark, that would have to go through the legislature and Jen, go ahead, Jen Cashman.
I'm Jen Cashman, Town Park Tax Collector. So, I understand that, but does anybody know how to get that done? Do you have any information on that, to get a warrant article on the school ballot?
I've been looking it up,
Ready
but
to do
it's a
that?
process.
Like, can you guys do that? Is it beyond?
The voters,
you?
that's the
So
Canterbury and
the
Belmont.
residents of the
Yes.
town, which we all are you guys like, I'm just asking, I'm not blaming anybody or being like,
No.
but being the select board, is it a bad look if you guys present that? Could,
Jen, I've done one in the last 5 years and it failed.
and it failed, yeah,
Do it again.
yeah.
But we tried, and they came, was it 5 years or was it 7 or 8? Because what they came back with when it failed was they tried to throw us a bone and say, hey, you can bring 3, we'll call it civilians, in to watch our,
To just watch.
yeah.
Oh, the advisory
And
committee.
I've never met, no offense, this will not make me any more friends, but I really need it. They go and they drink the Kool-Aid.
They're the
Those 3 people always drank the
advisory
Kool-Aid and
board.
come back and said, you don't understand.
So,
Tracy, do you mind if me and you work together on that this year and try and get that on the ballot this year?
You work with my husband, he might not.
Well, I don't know any of
No,
this.
I will.
I haven't done the warrant article yet.
I'll do one of those.
because there was some language, and I don't remember, we've had this discussion before, there's a certain language, because the language that was done before did not give the budget committee any authority or any voting, okay? So all it really was an advisory committee, okay? So they're just, basically, we need to, if that's what you're thinking, and then have our legal counsel look at it to make sure that it's done correctly, so that we would have, whoever is sitting, the budget committee would have a vote.
This would go to both towns, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
You'd be on the
If
shaker,
I may-
yeah,
if
you'd be
I
on the
may.
shaker ballot.
None of this is gonna take place this
No.
year.
No.
You've got to deal with what we're dealing with is a shortage of funds.
But you have to, excuse me, but
Well, it
you do
could
have,
happen
you
this
do,
year.
you do have to do one thing with the school. The school has 3 buildings in this town, right? He knows, where is she? Where's our fire chief? Over there. They're called EOCs, Emergency Operation Centers. How many have a generator? Bada bing. 2 years ago, in the middle of February, they called me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, can you come down and see if you can get the generator to run at the high school? Because we had a wicked ice storm. It hadn't been run in 2 years. Now it's on a self-start system. It starts in cycles and keeps it, it hadn't been run. The fuel's like Jello. It ain't, it's 20 below zero out there. It's 30 degrees inside the building. Same school system, 4 feet of water in the gymnasium. How'd that happen? The guys work, who's working at night? The guy could have had his canoe and paddled around the gym. What's happening there? The only building they have that's got an existing working generator is their operations center, not any of the schools, which are listed on our emergency operations center. For the fire department knows that, the police department knows that. We got no electricity. If the town goes blackout and we wanna bring people in, where do they bring them? I guess they gotta take them to Laconia. I don't know where they take them.
Well, they do have a generator, so.
Where's the generator?
Well, they do have a generator at the high school, but the,
Doesn't run.
yeah.
They're replacing it this year.
That's not the generator's fault, that's just lack of maintenance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They built that school, that's a CAD generator, the best you could have put in, so that's
Yeah,
not the
but-
generator's fault.
No, but somebody ought to
We're blaming the
oversee
school
it.
for sure. We're blaming the school.
Oh my god.
Somebody's gotta make sure
Okay,
it works.
we're kinda getting off
did
track.
not.
I knew it happened.
Somebody's gotta make sure it works.
Where's your gavel there?
Yeah. I can,
Where's her hammer?
okay, guys, okay, back,
So,
that,
on another note about the budget committee, maybe
Please.
we could have a show of hands, who in this room would be on that budget committee?
for what?
The school.
School?
Oh, no,
Let's have a show of hands who wants to be on that budget committee.
Can you double dip?
Yes, it's a separate government entity.
I have to look into double dipping.
I don't believe.
double dip.
The
Hey,
only reason I did that.
I'm pretty sure you can, but you can look into it. I'm pretty sure, but look into it.
I think it's a great idea. You had a budget committee, again, it was, you know, just an advisory committee. I've been on them advisory deals. It's kind of a waste of time. But the thing is, even if you get this up and running, this is gonna be the thing that I've always seen in the school, and I've watched it since I was 21. The deal is, you're gonna get a few people that will jump on it in the beginning. But I've watched this happen at Winnisquam Regional School. They had one, and they were a voting committee, and it was only about 3 years, they couldn't get anybody to do it. Everybody just walked. So, again, I'm not disagreeing that it's a good idea, it's just the same old deal, you gotta get volunteers to do it.
The biggest problem with the school is 2/3 of the school board members are either teachers or they're
employees.
related.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, they're gonna get.
yeah, yeah. And it's been that way,
Yeah.
unfortunate.
But they're top heavy, it isn't the teachers that are getting the money.
Belmont is,
Well, they do okay,
No, the
They
SE
don't
is
pay what
very-
Laconia pays.
The SE is very top heavy.
but the top heavy part, the administration,
it's the numbers they have for the amount of students. That's,
Well, if you ask them, their enrollment is dropping drastically. For the Gotland program, I reached out to, the office administrator and asked her what the current enrollment of the children was. And in January, it was like 1,165. By April, when we went to go do our applications, it was down under 1050. So that's just like in 3 months, it went,
Yeah.
In the middle of the year, they unenroll a bunch of kids who have technically graduated as seniors and walk, I don't know what their.
I had heard, I thought
I don't
that
know.
the typical enrollment number had gone down by about 30, but that's only, you know, I don't know
Yeah.
how correct that is.
My last
All
comment
right.
on the budget committee to address yours is half of it, or close to half of it, would be also made up of Canterbury residents, which, trust me, I've sat on that withdrawal committee for 2 past summers. There's some people interested in
I've
it.
been to the meeting, I remember. Long time.
You weren't,
So
within
back-
the last 2 summers, we did it again, so there's new people.
Enough of this
So
change.
back to what Ron said, I think, I agree with Ron on this, I mean, I think we're not gonna fix the school problem.
No, nope.
And I think we should
We need to
focus
get back
on
onto our own budget.
what can you do with the town, and I believe that's gonna have to be, people are gonna have to be educated more than they've ever been educated, and try to get people involved, so they know what we're facing. Not that many people know about this big sewer problem, now guess what, then, how many sewer users is it, 900 something? Looking for the number I remember. If they have to pay a $10 million bond, I hope it's a 100-year bond, because I don't want them to pay it for like 10 years.
Yeah,
But
don't.
that's gonna be a major, another expense for the homeowner that's trying to survive, so.
Yep.
I think you'll find a lot of people trying to put in septic systems.
No idea. It's kind of,
But that's a big problem, that's one of
it
the
is,
big ones.
it is a big one.
It's facing
It's a big one.
a lot of residents in town, and businesses.
But, you know, I have been talking to some young people. I have neighbors that have just moved into town. We had a little bit of surprise about their taxes and everything, and I said to them, I said, first of all, you gotta be aware of what's happening in the town. It's also your school. I said, but why is it so high? And I said, well, first of all, you gotta realize we have a very good school, like the best that money can buy. Well, I really like the fact that my trash is picked up. I said, there. I said, you start looking for the good, and then you'll start, you know, not really looking at that budget and realizing. I realize that we have a sewer project to have to take care of on 140. I said, but it's for the good of the town,
Yeah.
not, and that would be, because you don't plan on being in this house forever, it will be a good thing that, for your, you know.
It's no different than
It's for
when we had
our
all of the
future.
grant money to do the water treatment plan.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
People would walk in and say, well, I don't use the water, what good is it to me? And I went, well, it's not always that. You know, if you go to town, if you go to any town buildings or your kids go to school, they're using that water, but it also increases the value of the town.
Right.
But people would not, no, don't care about
Well, then,
increasing it.
don't pay your income tax if you're not getting anything out of the government. You know, I mean.
It's
well,
really, really hard.
Try that.
But then the other problem is when you have 700 people out of, what's our population?
7,532.
There you go. 700 people, plus or minus, out of 7,500 residents.
How many registered voters?
I believe there's like 41, 42.
So 4,000.
Approximately 4,500 registered voters, and it's just gonna increase this year with the presidential election. It'll probably, I would say, go at least 1,000, if not two.
Yeah. I guess my question is, when is the, again, I suppose, we probably can't do that, probably Alnex won't let us be available for people that are coming in to vote in the fall.
As long as you're outside.
The properties on the tax roll, that was like as of April 1 or April 30th. We gotta see, did that increase a lot this year? Is that gonna help us out at all in this budget going forward?
Evaluation?
Yeah.
Evaluation, yes, increase.
Have we, I know, like, if a house is done in May or June, it waits a whole year to go on. So did we have a lot of new stuff there?
Percentage. It's not that it doesn't show it all. They
Yeah.
do a by count, it's 50%, 70%.
I thought we had some big projects like the gas station on Route 3,
That's all.
adding
That's
on
all
this
done.
Still
year.
has,
We have no, we really have not really anything
And they did-
commercial, other than Al up on top of, Al up on top of.
But they all the commercial, including the vault, which is one of the probably bigger ones, they get 5 years at half price. From the day that they have their opening or when they open the doors, that was to get them to
No,
come
we
here.
had a lot of the, developments finished last year. We will definitely have an increase in evaluation.
Okay.
And a lot of camps sold on the lake and they put nice big homes on them now,
And
so.
homes are still
yeah.
selling for
Yeah.
well over assessed, so it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
selling now.
It's bad.
Yes,
Hi, I'm Sheila Cunningham from Sunlight Drive, and I live in a development that is bordering on the lake. When I walk along the Wow Trail, there is a huge development that has taken over.
one,
house.
One house.
One house.
one,
But there's supposedly 9 more coming in. According to the people,
No, one house.
the people who are building it, working
Yeah.
on it, told me there were 9 more planned.
Here's our planning.
I would say that's not going to.
Like,
Yes, go. Here's our planning.
Karen Central, planning director. There was some initial inquiry. We've heard rumors, again, it's just rumors at this point. I know he's developing it's a very large single-family home and a large barn, which has drawn a lot of attention to that particular parcel. Again, we've heard rumors that he may be looking for more, but we have no applications, we have no concrete application yet for that particular parcel.
Well, I spoke with one of the gentlemen who was building on the house, and he told me there were 8 or 9 following. So just keep an eye on it. And my question is that going to help our tax rate at all with the increase in taxes?
no,
It's,
depends on who you
it's
are.
speculation. We don't know if anything's going there. I mean, anybody can say, gee, I got 5 acres of land, I'm gonna put, wow, whatever you put on 5 acres of land for housing. But maybe they change their mind. What they until an application comes into planning, we can't, build a budget on speculation, I guess, is what it boils down to. Yes, Jen?
Jen Cashman, Town Clerk, Tax Collector. I think everybody needs to understand that the tax rate, the taxes have not gone up. It's the assessed values of people's property that has gone up. The tax rate is at the lowest I've seen it since I've been in town. $17, less than $20. 5 years ago it was almost 30. So the value of their homes is increasing, which maybe, if people ask you, you put the spin on it, where their wealth is increasing because they now have more, what's the word? Equity, because their home value is up. You know, I mean, there's no inventory, it's not like you can sell a house, because where the heck are you gonna move? But that's the spin, because we're not collecting more, well, we are collecting more money, but the tax rate is low, it's low, and people aren't seeing.
The town portion
The town
of the
portion
tax
is
bill
extremely
is
low.
low. We can't control the school.
Absolutely.
And if you look at your tax bill,
But maybe if people do come to you and ask you these questions, maybe put that spin on it, where it's.
I basically, when you have people complain, they live in a house next door to a house that's similar to that. It was built, 20 years ago by the same builder. And their assessment is out of sight, but the house next door got sold for even more than what their assessment is. They don't, I say, well, go talk to your neighbor that sold their house for 1.2 million.
Right.
I mean, that's what it boils down to. It just,
Well, the problem is that you have the haves that moved in, and they've spent that kind of money for houses. Then you've got the people who just have blue collar workers, got a regular job, and they're trying to make ends meet. You've gotta go over to the grocery store and spend $200 or $250 for groceries in a week, which years ago you could get it for $65, $70. And like I said before, that people are maxing out their credit cards. And this is all gonna, like you said, it's gonna come to a head, and things are gonna come crashing down. People that had good jobs, working at McDonald's for $20 an hour, those are gonna go away, because they're just gonna go out of business. That's what I'm seeing happening from my experience.
and the unfortunate thing with that, Ron, is, I know my daughter works for a construction company, and they've recruited, project managers, architects, engineers, whatever. And some of those people have moved into this town, some of them have moved into other towns, and when they're asked about their tax bill, I don't really even look at it, I just pay it.
Yeah, but.
And they're not getting involved, they don't argue about it, they just pay it like it's nothing, and I go.
But they overvaluated the house, and then 2 years from now, that house is probably not, they're gonna be underwater.
They're gonna be bottom.
And that's what's happened in the past. We gotta look at what's happened and deal with that.
But the same thing, Ron, is even if it goes bottoms up, people are still going to need a policeman, they're still gonna need a fireman.
That's what I'm saying,
And that's
but
where.
those are the people who are gonna vote no, because they're not gonna be able to afford it, because they're already strapped for money. I mean, to spend $2,000 for a two-bedroom apartment is crazy. That's what I'm seeing happen. But we're gonna have, the budget is gonna be what it is. Next thing is to convince the people that we need it.
I'm not to be a wet blanket, but as Ron's saying, I agree with him again. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people in this room, and anybody would've told me 10 years ago, somebody's gonna go pay $800,000 for a home on Horn Road, I just be free.
Try. Think about it.
$1.3 million.
Yeah, it's over
Same
now.
deal. COVID came, the world changed, there's no inventory, so these people coming from out of state, they're doing this all the way to the northern borders. Mark could back that up, right? So I agree with you, Ron, what's gonna happen, I agree with you 100%. I don't like father, what's gonna happen, that's the reality we're gonna face. The other reality is the commercial growth boom that we've been in for years. I asked a question 9 or 10 months ago, do you think this is gonna continue? I didn't, well, it hasn't, because I'm not gonna have applications coming before us for the vaults and these bulk storage buildings. It's not. Fortunately, Mr. Mitchell came in for a change of use on a project that was already, well, we wouldn't have anything on last month of June. So that's what keeps our tax rate stable, is that kind of growth. And I don't see it coming anymore. I've watched the commercial boom die over 40 years many times, so you've seen it. So I agree with Ron. I think this is our biggest problem, is to figure out how we're gonna convince people that are,
I think his biggest problem is you gotta educate the voters, and we're not doing our job as public officials by going out and educating and trying to tell them. When people who serve on boards in this town say, if you don't understand it, vote no, not ask the question. They say, you don't understand it, just vote no, you can't go wrong. And that's a quote, and that's not my quote, trust me. I think we have to, as the people in this room, we don't need to sell it. We need to sell the quality of life that people are moving here. People are buying these homes and buying property in this town.
But what about the quality of life
Because-
of the people that live here?
Yep.
I hear nothing about these. I think a large demographic of the people that didn't pass these budgets was because they don't want to lose their home. Because even if you sell their home, there's nowhere for them to go.
You're right.
And I think that's the demographic, a large demographic of people who voted no, just on the money items, because they don't want to lose their home.
look
I
at
don't-
what they picked out on one item. Look at what they picked out. Yeah, $750,000 for the road construction. It was a big number. I looked at them all. The ones they picked out were big numbers. And unfortunately, the police, out of the employees, was the biggest number of the three. So was that the whole reason? Who knows? But they went for big numbers, and the people I heard say something is because they wanted to be able to produce it. Their idea was, it's gonna reduce the taxes.
Well, and to
I
that,
have a question for Mark. You're in a new development. How many of your neighbors are interested in town politics or go and vote?
I think most of them vote. I don't, I think they're more interested in, you know, taking the kids to soccer or, you know, picking up dry cleaning.
So they vote for the school budget.
Yeah.
But again, you're looking at homes that sold there in the high, probably 800,000s?
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, and people that are buying those homes, they got kids in school, you're right, they're just gonna pay their taxes. And I know a couple people over there, they're not interested in getting involved. We moved here not to get involved with anything. We
Yes.
don't wanna be involved with anything. That's why we moved here.
which is almost as good as which is better than wanting to be involved in being a nuisance though about it,
Well,
so.
So those are the people that I feel that need to, I don't wanna disagree with Sharon that yes, the people that were born and raised here and still here, they're important. But I think if you look at only 700 people voting on that budget, more people who were interested in whether, in my opinion, some political statements trying to be made, because maybe they don't, I'm used to not being liked around here, they don't like you, they don't agree with you, I'm gonna make a statement and not pass his budget. They weren't looking at the consequences down the road and what it actually does. But Susie Homemaker, who's perfectly happy with writing her taxes, thought it didn't matter that she didn't go. I'm gonna stay home because I've got Cub Scouts and soccer tonight, and that's 15 minutes I don't have. Those are the people that you need to educate that your vote does matter, because if only 700 out of 4,000 voted, that's our big problem. Because we don't even have a true representative of what our community wants. We have a representative of those 700 people who showed up.
And it's amazing the number of conversations, people will come up, at least I've had them come up to me, you know, Shaw's, Osgood's, whatever, and complain about, you know, what's going on, and I know that we're getting issues from people over on Middle Route, because why aren't we doing the road, and this and that, and I'll look at the person and say, oh my God, I stood there all day long, I never saw you. Oh, I didn't have time to get there, I was busy doing this or that. I said, well, there's not much I can do, because the budget failed.
12 years ago, maybe 14, the town voted in to spend $1 million a year on roads, reconstruction or improvements. To catch ourselves, we hired an engineer, because that engineer showed us that our biggest problem is east and west traffic. We got 106, we got 140 going this way, but all our roads that people trying to get around to get to Guilford or get to the lake are on Dutile Road, they're everywhere. Well, we didn't do that this year. We did it for the 11 years straight, but that money,
It's been like almost 16 years.
easy, I'm not that old. So we didn't do it. We stopped. But the east-west construction, and I live on Dewtown Road, it's, the people are coming in. The house beside me 2 years ago sold for $125,000. He just sold again for $328.
Yes, sir.
Same house.
Yes.
I'm Don House, I'm new to the budget committee. I have a few comments. I agree that I think that voters need to be educated, but I haven't heard any solutions to how you're
No,
gonna do
neither
that.
have I.
And I think I'd like to hear some discussion about how to educate the voters. I also think that you need to get more people voting, you know, which is what someone else did. And I think you need to discuss how you're gonna get more people voting. That may be part of the education, so those two things. I think the third thing you need to look at is, you know, do you have tax relief to those that are really stuck? That are those gonna lose their homes, and maybe those are the ones that are voting against it as well. So I think if you look at the tax relief for those that are close to losing their homes, that might be another solution. I know other towns do things to help people with that. I don't know how much we do.
What do we have the, veterans exemption, we have, Elderly.
disabled, blind.
yeah. So we do have some.
Maybe it's just, again, making more people aware of those things that they can do if they have a tight tax situation or other means to address it, because those are some of the people I think that are voting no.
Those exemptions are listed on your tax bill, so everyone who gets a
But-
tax bill is well aware.
Well,
Or they could be.
they could be.
Could be, yeah.
So.
And that's where I think Don is correct, is it does fall more on us to have these pointed conversations, not just think that they assume that they can see or that they know what we have for credits and just like along that line.
And I think you need to involve the press, so the press needs to hear some of the things that are going on.
My next statement was, through the years, we've paid, because nothing's free in the, if you're gonna pay anything, we've paid, we've notified, we've put the sign up on 106. I know that years ago, they used to send flyers out. It's expensive. It costs money to do all what you're talking about doing, okay?
Right, no, you need to find the most cost-effective way
Right.
of doing it. Maybe that's
Right.
when you have a primary, you send out some information at the front, you know, have it available at the primary.
Well, that's why I just got thinking, maybe,
Well, that's how you got the police station.
I just drank a lot of coffee,
No,
okay?
but I mean, you can send flyers out,
Yeah,
everybody got, and that's how they're done, so probably that's the same thing, but, yeah.
My best tool at election time was the voter's guide that Alicia and Colleen worked to put together that has every warrant and what it costs and what it's for and, you know, all of that. And I handed out 50 of them, and that was kind of how I got out into the community. Here's the voter's guide, it explains it. If you have any questions, call me. And they asked me, what do you think, what do you feel? I photocopied and gave out about 50 of those.
and I gave out, I can't imagine, I have certain people that I go to every year, they want me to come and visit them. You know, I go to residents at Briarcrest, you know, I go to Orchard Hill, you know, all of these people are voting people, and I'm out there passing these things around. You know, it's not from lack of doing.
But another
I
solution
think
is
another good example when we were talking about the roads is that, we've tried, or at least since I've been involved for the last 10 years, we've tried with the state, we've had the governor, the, DOT, the head of the highway, senators, legislators, whatever, all here on the Main Street of Belmont addressing the intersection of Main Street and 140 that is becoming a hazard and has been a real problem. Well, fortunately, we had the state come to see us. Couple or was it a meeting or whatever
6
ago,
weeks ago.
okay? So we've been at this for 10 years, and they came and visited us and said that they had, what was the figure that, what was the one that they said thought was the best plan?
2.3 million.
Well, no, they were okay with the realignment, the four-way stop.
Right, but how much money did they have
Oh,
to address it?
50?
I thought it was, huh?
500.
500,000. They had $500,000. Now, we've had everybody and their mother here in the last 10 years to address this issue. Gee, they've now got $500,000 to address the intersection of 140 and Main Street. What is that gonna get us, okay? What they showed us is a joke.
But then they said didn't have any money anyway.
Yeah.
They don't have any money to
So,
proceed with it.
you know,
The only infrastructure money.
They don't,
Washington said.
listen, they wanna put a rotary in, take out the houses, take out the hardware store, we're gonna put a roundabout, like Meredith. It's amazing, and they spend money doing this. I mean, they got engineering plans. I mean, Ray Charles could see this ain't gonna work.
Yeah. I mean, we got hit with
quote that
that. But yet the state is very quick to tell us that we've gotta come up with $9 million to fix a sewer line that I think is ridiculous, right? But they've only got 500,000 to be able to fix our intersection, which they're not fixing.
And they don't have it anyway. They haven't got it through the legislature yet.
Yeah,
We,
right.
the plan was project for 2025, so it should have been already approved to move forward. They don't have the money, so it ain't gonna happen in 25, I can tell you that right now.
So these are the kind of things that we're dealing with that gets a little frustrating.
Did you know, Mark, that they were gonna chop up the road up the middle center line? Did anybody tell you they're gonna put that, they're gonna get it, the breakdown lanes and the middle, the center line in 106 is now got like
Yeah.
a bicycle track.
Yeah,
Could we get back to the budget?
okay,
Thank you.
back to the budget.
So, Ruth, I have a question.
Yep.
Does deal with the budget,
Does the
money.
Board of Selectmen have a plan in place if the budget fails again this year?
Oh, that's why we're sitting here.
And have you asked your department heads to flatline their budget?
No, we have not yet, because we haven't started that process yet. That's why we're here, so that then we will obviously sit with our department heads and see where we are. The unfortunate thing is, to flatline that budget, we're going backwards.
Yeah.
We're going backwards. Every time, and we've got some,
Can't.
some major things that we gotta fix. And we can't fix them, we're Band-Aiding, and hopefully we get the budget passed.
You can't flatline it. When
No, you
inflation
can't
is
flatline
always-
it, no.
There's no way to flatline it. Yeah,
'Cause
now
we-
you're gonna make up for what you didn't do last year. Those problems don't go away.
You-
So you got the increase, like you said, insurance.
Lights.
And
Everything.
wages. You gotta compete with other towns, otherwise you keep losing your health like we've been doing. So we're between a rock and a hard place. And by not passing the budget last year, makes it even double this year.
Craig?
So, I mean, we have 10 department heads here, so we're all working in default budget. I can tell you, my department, what we do, it's not easy, what we're having to do. We're having to like not restock stuff, and so if we do go into default next year, we're gonna be in trouble. So we're here, we're wondering what your expectations are, and what you're gonna want from us. I mean, do you want me to propose $750,000 for the road reconstruction next year, or are we just gonna say no, it's gonna pass? I mean, what are your expectations? I have to build a budget. You know, we work our tails off on these budgets. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, so don't you people, and we appreciate you people coming here. I mean, how many meetings do we have? It's a lot of time and sacrifice for people to get up there and walk up and vote no. You know, I mean, I've lived in this town for 58 years right now, and I've watched my father do this back 50 years ago, and kick the can. Belmont always kicked the can, and then we regretted it 10 years later. Always, you know, yeah, granted, we're putting $750,000 into the roads, and we have been except for this year. But that $750 is nowhere what it was 15 years ago.
No, with inflation and the
So
cost of
inflation,
everything.
you figure out what we're doing. I mean, granted, I think we have a good road system, and that's because we've been doing that. But if we stop doing that, in 10 years, we're gonna regret it. Every year that we don't do this, and we're gonna say, oh gee, we never should have done that. Because it's gonna look really affordable then. And it's hard, I know budgets are tight, families are having a hard time, things are expensive. But ultimately, you have to look at the big picture, and ultimately, you're gonna regret that. So.
The other issue is,
I just
if
wanna
you
know
don't do your roads,
what do you have for expectations for your department?
if we don't keep our roads up, we're gonna spend it in equipment. Because it's gonna beat up the equipment trying to plow and take care of roads. I think Northfield called Craig back a few weeks ago and wanted Belmont, I don't know if anybody is familiar with Fellows Hill, going up Shaker Road to Canterbury. Gee, Northfield would like Belmont to take that on and do that. And Craig and I had the conversation.
They call,
Yeah, we know, but it's still a discussion.
But to be honest with you,
Fix it.
the discussion was, they wanted to, see if we had something to trade, because they have a stretch that they'd like to do at Canterbury. Canterbury doesn't apparently wanna do it anymore.
I can see
So
why.
I had a little bit of an open mind, and I went up, and I was like, I drove the stretch that they wanted us to plow, and I turned around, and I got on my phone, and I talked to the guy, and I said, no way, not. I said,
'Cause if the
the
roads-
roads in such terrible condition, I'm not, there's just no way.
And if the roads are in bad shape,
Oh, yeah.
it affects our police department vehicles, it affects our fire department vehicles, it's that domino effect. If we don't get a budget passed, all these things are getting older, they're not getting repaired, or we're not trading cruisers in, or we're not doing work on our fire trucks, or our highway department.
I think the people of this town have a level of expectation with our roads and our winter maintenance program now. I mean, I think other towns get away with a little bit more,
Yeah.
I would say, not being as fussy, or not being as,
It's whatever.
but and we can do that because our roads are in good shape, and we can apply it the right amount of.
So I think one of my things that goes through my head, all right, is everybody's sitting here. You all have your own ideas, how your budgets go. I mean, do we go with our budget we had last year and add whatever the percentage is that we're gonna be able to add to it?
Oh,
I mean-
can I throw a question out there real quick? What does everybody think about if we potentially lowered what we asked on the warrant articles to like 80%, 75%, and then work our way back up to like what was it, 750 was the road one? So like whatever 80% of that is, and work our way back up, and maybe the following year up to 750. Like I think the numbers scared them this year.
Well, say that putting the 750 in, you can ask the board, I wanted to increase that, because that 750 isn't getting us nearly what we.
We started out at 1,000.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
we were originally a million,
Million.
we knocked it down to 750 3 years ago.
It's been 750 as long as I've been in charge. So, I mean, and you know what, I'm not looking to give course, we're trying to do the best we can with that money. But like I said, 750 isn't what it was.
In other words.
No, and I agree. I'm just trying to look for a way to get them to vote yes on it, and at least get that yes vote starting to go, and then we can start
Well, that's what
playing with that number again.
Okay, well, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We're looking for some guidance. I agree with Travis, because it was 2 years ago, they knocked it down to 500.
Oh, God, thank you.
It was 1 year.
No, we did that.
Thank you.
Hold on, Kevin, we did that as a board.
Yeah.
Right.
We as a board backed it down to 500.
It was Sunny. I heard about
So
that.
is
It
that
was
a good
Sunny.
number to start with again? Like,
That was Sunny that did that, just so we all know, okay? Sunny did
I
that.
didn't want to throw him under the bus, but that's.
And
all.
I think if we
want
start
some
it,
guidance.
if we start at the 500, and we can probably get back to that $1 million number in what, 2 years, probably 3 years. We need to get that consistent yes, and they understand what that money actually does. And I think seeing this year how much we had to drain that block fund grant to even think about taking care of the roads this year, that number is gonna be a lot lower on that ballot article too. That block grant looked big, even though we use it every year. It just looks big.
Almost 200,000. The
It-
reason why I did that-
It just looks big to them.
Yeah.
It's coming out of the hole.
Yeah. Yes, dear. Come to the podium, please.
Mary Trinley. I also agree with Mr. House regarding publicity. The school board knows how to sell their budget. In the paper, as a taxpayer, when you have the top kids going for robotics, you have the math teams, you have the sports teams, it is in the paper, they're selling it. It used to be I don't know what the regulations is, but we could see the police blotter. You could see the mutual aid. The taxpayers don't have an idea of what these departments really do. I think if we sell it used to be in the paper, there's a lot of calls, I see them go on because of the blue lights. My husband's a call firefighter, I know what the firefighters do. If we sell it and put it in for publicity, these people are going to be aware of what we're doing in this town and what you're doing as a select board and what our departments are doing. Like our library, we are advertising, all the programs that we're doing. Danielle has the camp going. I'd even put pictures with approval of those kids at the beach. The beach is being manned, it has lifeguards, there's very few beaches that are having lifeguards. We need to sell ourselves. These taxpayers have no idea what this money is going towards, except for the school, because they're in the paper. And as a teacher in another town, and a taxpayer, it looks good. Those kids are reading, right? We have kids that can't read with COVID. They are reading. they're getting the help that they need, but you gotta sell it, and that's what we need to do.
They've stepped up their social media game in the last year or two.
Right.
They've got at least 2 or 3 posts every week for all different age ranges showing, and they're all yayas.
We have a
And
park
so
attendant.
who is doing that? Because it's not reporters doing
Oh,
that.
no, that's somebody that.
Somebody within the school.
Or
system.
teachers.
Staff
Probably-
member.
Or teachers.
Probably a new,
Put in, it's a courtesy, right, I mean, where I teach, they have a tax cap, so it makes a little bit difference. But we have a park attendant now, I kinda didn't know that, and I'm right there by the park, until it's one of our trustees working. So, I mean, the more that we can sell it, you know, advertise it, we are thinking about looking at pickleball. The more that we sell what we do with this money, the more you're gonna have people support us.
You could do it for free by just sending letters to the editor. You could have each department head put a thing about the implications for the budget, just as a letter to the editor, doing for free. And the Sun, and a lot of people would see it.
I will say we do a newsletter every month. You guys all subscribe to the newsletter because, I mean, we write, I mean, our department, we tell people what we're doing on the roads, we tell people, I mean, that's one thing, I don't know if two people read that.
A lot of people get it. And
Yeah.
we've had a lot more people signing up for it. We have a place at the town clerk's desk where people can sign up. And then there's a button on the homepage of the website. So I don't know if people are actually reading the newsletter, but a lot more people are getting it than there were even a year ago.
We'll poll the room. How many people get the newsletter?
Oh, we're all town employees and department heads here, so I hope we all get
Well,
it.
yeah, but 1, 2,
All
3.
elected officials and
No,
employees.
don't use email.
Exactly.
It doesn't count.
Exactly, but Mr. Pike is always saying, print, print. People are still reading the paper. He says it all the time. Not everyone's online.
surprisingly enough, Tracy, you would be amazed the number of people who are no longer on Facebook either. Yeah, please, please, please.
That's sort of what I want to say. There's so many different ways that you have to reach out to people because not everybody communicates in the same way. And, I mean, to say that we're gonna do a Facebook promotion, or we're gonna have people out talking, or being at voting, or, well, if not coming to vote, then that's not gonna be the best place for us to
You gotta get them there first.
maybe, you know, maybe it's Old Home Day, maybe we need to have more of an open presentation where we do have a large group of people, but not just that one source.
Well, we do poll,
Facebook, do email, we have to do it several different ways to send out the education, not just one.
we do poll a lot of people though to our primary voting, and that's the weird thing, is we do poll a lot of voters for federal elections, but not town elections. Am I correct on that, saying that?
Yeah.
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 Since we have all the department heads, I would like to hear from each department head, the health of their department, manpower, what their problems are, and what they're facing today.
Who would like to start? Would anyone like to
Larry, I'll go
step
first in the front row.
Sure, well, you don't need anything.
So I'll give you a little rundown of where the police department's at right now. We currently have 2 open positions. We had only one. We had a person that was in the training program. They didn't make it through FTO, so we released that individual. So now we're back to 2 open positions. And basically, we can't get the phone to ring. No one wants the job. They're not coming. So on the budget right now, my overtime, I have 30% of my overtime left. And we're only in the beginning of July. And the majority of our employees have not taken their vacations yet. That means we have to cover shifts. We're covering shifts with overtime. We're gonna blow through that overtime line. So that's one issue. The other issue is that the uniform, because we had to hire new people, we had to outfit them. The average cost to outfitting a person from their boots to their hat is about $3,500. So we outfitted this gentleman that we had in the training program because he needed to have the equipment to work, and now we no longer have him. We have the equipment, but now we need someone that fits him.
Oh, so we gotta find the body to work.
You gotta find the body that's gonna fit the, you know, the clothing and stuff that we bought. So we're gonna reduce that cost a lot because a lot of that equipment we can reuse, but there's still running the possibility that we're gonna have to spend more money on the next person that we hire. My equipment budget right now is down to 9%. That's all I got left in that line, is 9%. So that's not good. So the captain can attest to this. We have absolutely spent only the monies that we have to spend, period. It's either contractual, it's service agreements, it's monies that we need to put out there. We're not replenishing things for ourselves, buying equipment that we need or replacing. The other issue we have is our vehicle repairs. We're down to 44% right now of money left in that line. So for example, an average brake job on a police cruiser, now unlike your car that you may get 2 or 3 years out of, we're lucky if we can get a year out of a brake job. You're talking anywhere between $400 and $500 now. We've had bills up to $700, $800 to repair cars right now. We cannot replace 2 cars this year. So that means we're gonna fall 2 cars behind next year when we should be replacing 2 more cars. That'll put us 4 cars in the hole if we fall into another default budget. If we fall into another default budget and we can't maintain the salary base that we're maintaining right now to keep our people within the police department, we are going to lose seasoned people. No question about it. I have 6 right now that can retire. They're non-replaceable. The people are not out there looking for jobs. So we could suffer some catastrophic issues here if we go into a second default and if we don't get funded to maintain basically maintain what we have. So we're trying to present and serve the town as we have in the past with the best service that we can supply. But at some point, we're not going to be able to do that. We're not going to have the people to come out and do that. So we do need a plan. We need to figure this out so that we can, there's no way I'm going to recover the monies I've lost. Impossible. But I have to be able to maintain what I have next year. If we default next year, I can't do that. And I'm going to say I can't do that. He won't be able to do that because my tenure ends in March. So I'm probably going to be voting as a civilian at town meeting. So we have issues here where you're going to have a new person coming in to take over the police department with absolutely no money to operate it, and running the risk of who he's going to be able to maintain or who he's going to be able to replace. So we're trying to do what we can to try to entice people to come here and at least get our ranks filled so we can do this. But that's going to be a hard sell. And when I leave, that opens up 3 positions because I'm part-time on the books. So that's now going to put a chief in place who's now full-time. Currently, you don't pay me benefits. You're just paying me an hourly, basically a salary per year to come here and take care of this police department, which I've been here for 48 years. He's gonna come in, and now you've got another increase that you're coming into your budget because now you're paying benefits and everything else that goes along with a full-time employee. And you'll have 3 open positions if we can't fill anyone between now and next March. So the police department's in a precarious position right now. We're making it right now, and we've been making it for several months, quite a few months as a matter of fact, and that's because a captain and a lieutenant are working patrol shifts. He's working 4 days a week covering patrol shifts. He shouldn't be covering patrol shifts. He's got administrative duties he has. And he's trying to do both. Very difficult to do when you have to go out and cover calls. So, yeah, I'm very concerned about what we're gonna do, and that's why I'm glad this meeting came to fruition here, that we can talk about this and try to figure out how are we gonna educate the public to come out and vote and understand that we are not embezzling money, we are not hiding money, we are using money that we need to fulfill services. You wanna save a ton of money, take out the trash pickup. Find out what that's gonna get you. It's bad enough Craig's getting hammered right now because he's not doing roads. What if your 7,500 people in town decide that you take trash away, now they have to take that trash to the recycling center themselves? See how popular you're gonna be. I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh with Kevin. So, just to let you know, we're maintaining, but next year will be devastating.
Loaded question, but, so another issue that we could have with a default is, you're part-time, a default would still list the chief as part-time, we don't have funds to pay a full-time. So that's another big glaring
That's
issue we could have.
that's gonna be a budgeted item in the next budget.
Yeah.
Right,
So that's another issue we'd be facing with a default.
right. So there's issues. I mean, there's a lot of things that are gonna be impacted. So, that's all I got. We're doing what we can, and we're gonna continue to do the best we can. And, hope for the best.
Deb. Deb, yeah.
So, on a good note for us, and not to knock on the police part, but our budget as far as our contracts passed. So I've done very well this year holding people. We've had a really good year. Every shift has been filled. Unfortunately, I am losing one lieutenant. So two things are either gonna happen. I'm either gonna promote up someone from in-house if I have somebody eligible, or I'm gonna promote from out. If I promote in-house, then I've gotta get a firefighter. I've gotta get a firefighter, and then cause this one goes up to lieutenant. If I promote from out, either way, I'm still hiring one person. Promoting from outside right now, I'm not gonna be able to get a lieutenant from another fire department, cause they are not gonna make the money in Belmont that they're making at their own place. So that knocks that down. And same thing with firefighters, and I'm bringing in really green firefighters. Luckily, I've got 2 shifts of 4. Thankful for the grant position I had, which I'm really hoping to push that further. And one of my goals was too, is to have 4 shifts of 4, because this year my budget is actually finally at below 50%, you said the other day, for overtime. But the biggest thing that has helped me is I have 2 shifts of 4. I'm not calling in people as much as I need to. If I had more, I'd probably be even less at this point. But we do have vacations coming up, and now I'm losing a lieutenant. So that'll, excuse me, that'll have to get covered. As far as maintenance goes, for whatever reason, I've had several trucks that have had some serious brake issues. And unlike the police cars, these trucks are like $4 or $5 grand to fix brakes on them. I've got a tanker truck. Now this tanker truck has given us its 25 years of great service. And unfortunately, we just found out not too long ago that the frame rail is cracked on both sides of the truck. It's going to cost $54,000 just for the frame rail for this truck that's already 25 years old. So is it gonna give me another 25 years old? Another 25 years? I've got, I have to take the tank and the unit that holds the tank on there. I have to have that taken off with a crane. I don't know, can anybody tell me how much a crane's gonna cost to do that?
$31,000.
So, I gotta have, and then store this truck and tank while I take it down to Manchester to get this done, and then have them put it back on again. So I'm thinking probably a couple $100,000 for this whole deal to get done on a 25-year-old truck that has given us, and Tyke can attest, 25 great years. It has earned its money. On a truck that the chassis cost $75,000 back in 2000. It's gonna cost me $50,000 just to fix the frame rails. So, in a brand new truck, and so right now, the town does not have a tanker truck, which is the truck that usually carries the most water for places out where Karen lives and who lives out in areas where there's no hydrants. I have improvised for that. Thanks to mutual aid, I'm able to get other trucks in there to help so that the town is still 100% protected, but it should be protected by us. This is what people are paying for. And I wanted to go another route. It also, without having these tanker trucks, you talk about insurance, it drops our ISO ratings. So your insurance goes up because you don't have adequate water in this town. Even though we have mutual aid, it's still years ago that the The ISO ratings went down 7 points on that. It's huge. Just for a tower truck that people didn't think this town needed, but insurance-wise, we need it. Those are some of the things that I was gonna look to in the future for hopefully trying to update this. So anyways, I'm out of tanker truck. Brand new one's gonna cost me probably $450,000, which back when he was the chief, $450,000 bought you an engine. Now an engine's gonna cost me well over $1 million. We need to have a tanker truck at some point, so somehow I've gotta figure that one out now. Hopefully trying to keep the guys all, employed with us, staying with us, which we've had a good route on that. We've had, very good luck with that. But now things are gonna change. I gotta see what I can try to get in, and we've got some good guys right now. I wanna keep it that way. And everybody's happy. And the station, well, that's showed a few people. That's starting to kind of crack and lean to one way, and at some point I really wanna get someone to come in and look at that station and see what we need to do about it. We've got cracks that go straight through the walls on that. And these are some little things that we've got to seriously start to fix, and if we don't, we're gonna be, like you guys said before, way behind the 8 ball if we don't get increases in anything. So,
Where are we with the ambulance?
it should be in next March. That's the only good thing I got going right now. A brand new ambulance coming in, which granted, that's what brings in the income for us for the most part.
But we
And
should
we've
have had
been
it before
extremely,
now. It's unfortunate.
I know,
We should have had
and-
it before now.
yeah,
Yeah,
and my hands unfortunately were tied at that
yeah,
point
I understand.
until I
No problem.
took care of it.
Yeah.
So, and granted, yes, we do bring in a lot of our funding, and especially for the large ticket items with that ambulance revenue fund. But in the same sense, when it comes down to payroll and all that stuff, that doesn't take care of that. And that's what I need to help keep us moving forward. So,
What's our revenue for the annually, for the ambulance fund, about 700,000?
I don't remember off the,
Yeah.
give or take, yeah.
For whatever reason, that,
But as we stated, a year or two ago, when Newhall had come forward to, buy some newer things, we have, now committed a lot of, payments out of that each year. So, we may take in that much, but we're also committed
Well-
for the next few years of taking those
With
payments.
lease purchases.
I was just gonna
Lease
explain to the
purchases.
new members of the budget committee that the funds from the revenue from the ambulance goes to offset some of the costs for medical, in the fire department and salaries, so that kinda helps us.
no, it does, I don't think it does
Salaries.
salaries.
It does,
I don't,
it offsets electric,
Training
training,
supplies.
it offsets electric, it offsets fuel. It helps us in the purchase of any fire apparatus that we need to get, but again, you're looking at a baseline of just $400,000 right off the bat. And it pays for the ambulances, any equipment for the department also.
But what I'm saying is to the new members, that it's a revenue that we have coming in, not with the police department, they go out and write a ticket, we don't get any revenue
Right.
from that, so, so that's a good thing that we started, how long ago, thank you.
Many years ago.
Yeah, well, 40, 50 years ago, but it's good.
And it's very common that other towns are doing it,
Yeah.
that they're also doing the exact same thing. And I am looking into, because they've changed some numbers anyways with insurance rates, into increasing the rates, for transports.
does anybody have any questions for the fire department, other than we know that they're busy? Like the police department?
Yeah, our numbers are up, most certainly.
Okay.
But as far as your billing goes, that's gonna have to get addressed. So I would suggest that you get an estimate or an engineer to look at to find out what the cost is gonna be, because down the road, gonna have to address that.
What are you talking about?
Oh, the building,
Oh,
the building.
I thought you said building,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I thought he said building, but he meant building,
Okay, yep.
yeah.
The one that has the metal roof on it.
Yes.
The problem is that the budget, wasn't even in the budget to hire an engineer to look at that building.
Yeah.
But that's something that needs to be put into that building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's something that you're gonna have to address, because that building it's a block building.
Correct.
But how it's held together is either side is podged on the fiberglass that holds it together. There's no mother joints in it.
Right.
So.
Okay. Who'd like to go next?
Wasn't really prepared for this, but I guess we'll start out with some good news. I mean, my department right now is fully staffed. I have wonderful, dedicated employees that enjoy coming to work every day, and I really want to keep them. As far as budget-wise, I think, we saw we had a really easy winter. Well, February was really easy, and 3 weeks in March were really easy, but January was above average, and the end of March and April, we had two, really big storms that really didn't help us out budget-wise. So, like I said, my budget is completely weather-driven. I mean, you get a rainstorm like, you got a couple weeks ago, and we're getting these downpours and these, torrential rains and stuff. So that, one of those storms can give us 2 weeks worth of work. But we've been fortunate; it hasn't been too bad. We did get a grant, like Ruth was saying, we did get a grant for a new truck. So I think the total cost of that truck's about $250,000, and I think the grant's gonna cover about $230 of it, I believe. Wasn't that, Alicia, something like that? 225, 230. So, the truck is in, it's at the outfitters. Hopefully we'll get that by December. So that's basically why we didn't propose any new equipment this year, because we got the grant and we were getting, we're trying every year we're trying to do something. So that's one of the questions that I have. I'd like to replace something this year. Our lease purchase line item has gone down significantly. I think we've only got 2 pieces of equipment on that item list. So, that's kind of like where I'll be asking Alicia for some direction if you guys want to, if we want to do that, or we go another year and we just, so those are the hard questions. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got to figure out. So, but our new well is being put in. That was another grant. We got ARPA money for that, about $400,000 or $500,000, and we're replacing well 1 with a new well. That well was originally put in 1938, so that's going to be that'll be a big plus. We won't be worried about supply. We'll still have our water quality issues that we should have addressed a few years ago with that grant, but we didn't. And but at least we'll have the supply that we ever have to go forward to treat water. We'll have enough water to do that. So. And I'll keep it short. I am gonna actually, as far as road work, so we're not doing any road work this year. I am gonna propose. We have to do a few things. We have to address the situation down on Main Street, because we had potholes down there that were, so sucking up the cars this spring. So that, and I'd like to do. Trying to get some prices on doing Dewtile Road. Really needs to be done now that the construction's over with, and we'll go from there. A lot of these new roads that we did, in the past 15, 17 years, Bean Hill we did 13 years ago. That's starting to, it really needs a coat. When the engineers did these roads, they recommended that, between every 10 and 11, 12 years, we put a maintenance shim on them. So, to have something hold up, you have to maintain it, and that's part of the cost of doing business. So, if you don't, then you end up spending more to reconstruct and do things like that. So,
and more to maintain.
Yeah,
our equipment.
exactly.
Police, fire, highway.
Yes.
How much is our budget?
I think our contract for them is about $84,000 a year. But you got to remember too, we don't have a full-time water guy anymore. We have a full-time, technically a sewer tech. So, and Brian and I do a lot of the water and the sewer stuff. So.
Just explain, the sewer guy has every day.
All of it. So we ran into a situation a few years ago where, we were hiring somebody, we'd get them trained and they'd leave. And it's just, so what we've basically done is we've kind of incorporated the whole group of guys. We're doing the sewer checks on the stations, and just so everybody's familiar, so we don't get caught like we get caught in the past. So I think we're trying to cross-train everybody in everything. So it's, we really, we lost some valuable employees, we lost Donnie. That was a big loss, and Tim took over. We lost Tim, and we lost 3 or 4 guys there, because
it happens. It's really hard to retain employees, you know, so basically now we check the stations every day, 365 days a year. I mean, and it's a 2-hour process. Donnie knows all about it. So.
And all the pump stations all up to date now, they've all been replaced?
They're all in pretty good shape, yeah, and we're on a pretty rigorous cleaning schedule now. We clean every one of them every year now. Generator maintenance every year.
So the big problem is the interceptor line going from South Road to.
Yeah, and that's like I said, that's our problem, but it's a state problem. So it's the state is basically going to dictate to us what we're going to do, and we really don't have. We don't have much.
We don't have much say.
We don't have much say in the game.
Tried.
Yeah, we tried. I mean, they have their group of engineers, and they have their group of people that, they technically, it's their responsibility, and they're gonna tell us what to do, so unfortunately.
When are they gonna require to replace that line?
We're not replacing it, they're
They're
replacing it.
replacing it.
We're just paying the bill.
But we gotta pay for it.
We gotta
When is
pay
that gonna
for it.
take place?
They're still looking at
Grants, they're trying to
grants
find.
and trying to secure additional funding first.
Yeah.
I would say
We
next
basically told them
year.
that, it's all fine and good, you wanna do this, but you better find us
4
some
or 5
grants.
years down the road,
I would
Not that
say
far.
next year.
Yeah.
next year?
It should have been encased, and it wasn't.
They're gonna phase it. I mean, right now they're talking about doing different phases, so that would be, help us a little bit, but really, what do we have, 1,400 sewer customers?
Well, that's
Something like that, because we have a lot of sewer customers that aren't on water. Basically all around the lake, all those customers, so basically it's gonna be the responsibility of 1,400 people or so to.
And interest rates the way they are, to borrow money, it's not good at this time. That's another thing to add to the budget because of the high interest rates.
And we don't know what that is yet. It's all fine and good, they say it's gonna cost $9 million, but we don't know, are they gonna get a $2 million from somewhere? Are we gonna get something from, US, rural development? Are we gonna get some money from them? It's that unknown. How do you budget something like that? We don't know if it's gonna cost us or the sewer users $9 million, $10 million, or $2 million.
That's the big elephant in the room we got right now.
Well, they're acting like a utility, just like Eversource is.
That's
I've got the Eversource rates right here.
What are they
They're-
talking for rate
They're
increases?
talking residential customers this year, I think this August, I think it was 6.9%, and then next year it was, I can look, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, that went
Residential, so it was 6.57 this August, and 9.62% increase next August, so a total of, 16.5%, 17%. You see all the work they're doing around town, these telephone poles aren't free. It's just, they're doing, and kudos to them, they're doing a lot of upgrades, it needs to be done. As you notice, a lot of the poles are so short, they're raising the poles to get the wires up higher and doing a lot of cutting and trimming and stuff like that.
They need
It needs
more-
to be done, but
It was explained to me that
they're not gonna pay
they
for it.
needed to do that to create more real estate for all the cable
Well, there you go.
communication.
Yeah.
That's how it was.
Because I'm sure
explained
everybody's
to me.
seen Comcast in town there. And that's another thing. So all these telephone poles that are going in, so we have to do a dig safe for every single one of these in town. So I basically had one guy pretty much 2 or 3 days a week just doing dig safes. And because we have sewer in the ground, we have water in the ground, and even if we don't have anything in the ground, we still have to go mark it and tell them that we don't have anything in the ground because that's what we have to do. Even, we're a non-member utility, but we still have to mark everything. So that's taking up, it's just a lot, we're busy, there's just a lot to do. There's a lot going on in town,
So back to the $10 million question, so as I know you've been communicating with the state, obviously they're giving you numbers and telling us we have to pay for it, we have no choice. Sewer users are gonna pay for it, but I know I've talked to, second in command quite a bit, and he's dealt with them quite a bit. So my question is, and always has been since it started out 4 or 5 years ago, when I actually on the board with a man who worked in the sewer department of the state, the break has been within the same 50 feet every break.
I agree.
Now, common sense would tell me that that would be the place that you really, if you're gonna phase it, that's what you would do.
You would think so.
From Coca-Cola
Kevin, I've stated at those meetings that cross-country line from the Shaker Road pump station to 140 is probably, it's probably got another, it's probably buried in, and that pipe will last as long as it's buried in a quality material. So that pipe, the problem they're having is the section on 140 where it's kind of swampy. So basically that pipe is rotting from the outside in.
And right where it's breaking?
That same
It's
spot.
underwater.
Yep, it is.
It's in a swamp.
Yep.
That part.
And I've heard
holds the water right in that spot.
I've heard stories about when they installed
Really
it,
easy
but
to
they won't listen to that.
They won't?
I've asked them if they've gone out.
Somebody needs to.
Well,
That's,
Go ahead.
well,
They were here. They were here.
yeah,
He said-
they've been
You
here.
are elected to go, or do you?
Yep. All right.
We've sent,
Anyway,
Kevin,
so anyway,
Kevin, we've sent a letter, we've talked about the slip lining, because in Guilford, that's what they did. They don't wanna hear it, because they won't,
well, to turn the tide just a little bit, what is 40 years of salt flying off a plow, going into a ditch that saturates the ground, doing that spot?
listen,
What do you suppose that? Thank you all. 5 feet.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
yeah, it's,
So there's a question, that's all I'm saying.
next.
Okay.
Hi all, I'm Eileen Gilbert. I'm the library director. I brought 2 of my trustees with me. I'm used to accentuating the positives, so I'm going to tell you I've got a great staff. They're doing great work. We're open 42 hours a week. We run 5 to 7 programs. The use of the library is picked up every year for the past decade. We now have 2 ebook services that are both picking up usage. That's all great. What I can also tell you is that we are also having difficulty holding staff. We had part-timer leave recently because we weren't able to offer the hours or the pay that she could get elsewhere. We have the full-time staff. We've accentuated the part-time staff at the cost of the full-time staff salaries, so that we can retain the people who do the checking in, the checking out, the important day-to-day work that is front-facing for all of your constituents, all of the patrons of the library. So the big challenge facing us is the National Register building. Our beautiful, beautiful National Register building was built in 1927, dedicated in 1928 for a town, a population of about 2,500. It is gorgeous. It's inadequate to support library services for a town of Belmont size, and it has been for at least 40 years. So the trustees are moving forward at the very beginning stages of attempting to see what an expansion and addition on that site would look like, making progress, going slowly. Obviously, the default budget was a blow to those plans. So we're progressing carefully, keeping in mind that we've got to present something to the taxpayers. We've got to show them that this is important to their quality of life in Belmont. So yes, we are very pleased with where we are. We're looking forward to where we're going. We do need to, keep pressing in on those issues that we've addressed. So thank you.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Jen, you want to say something?
I always have something to say.
Yeah.
Town clerk's office is doing great. I have 2 employees who have been here for over 6 months, and they're really picking up the job, which is huge. I will say we are kind of the front line for all of the vitriol and hatred and complaining and stuff like that from all the townsfolk about the taxes. So all the education we can spread, I would totally appreciate, because it is not me that has taken their money and put it in my bank account. As far as the budget goes, it's pretty static. Wages, insurance, supplies, I did just get a big hit because I cut my supply budget quite a bit when we went into default, and then one of the printers, which we use constantly, died. And that was like a $700 hit I wasn't looking to pay. But yeah, we're trying our best to remain happy. We appreciate everybody's support and all the departments. Work with Craig, police department and town hall is, we're trying really hard to remain positive and upbeat and support each other and increase morale. And I think that the strides that we are taking are going very far. And that's all.
Thank you.
We're glad you came back.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back. Yes. It's great.
Who would like to go next? There you go, Patrick.
Patrick Golden, Buildings and Grounds. I just want to say that we are working through the default budget. We're not doing a lot of the fertilizing or mulching or everything. We brought that budget back, we took back. I just want to make everyone aware that these buildings here, the mill, and the town hall, and the library, they're all old buildings, and it takes daily maintenance to keep these buildings going. The heating units in both the town hall and this building here are 25 to 30 years old. They're operating now. Last year we got lucky. We had a firebox in the mill here crack. And fortunately, they still make a replacement, and we were able to do that. So it was like a $3,000 or $4,000 repair instead of a $50,000 or a $75,000. So when we take away our reserve, you just have to be cautious that we never know day to day what we're going to find. We come and we check, we look at everything, and we maintain everything. We don't spend unless we need to. As far as my operating budget, the only thing that is really going up on me is gas, utilities, stuff that I can't control. We're trying to do that. We have the crew here and we mow 25 to 26 lawns a week. So our gas bill is up, and we do a lot. But we have good equipment. We were lucky we got a grant and got more, so it didn't cost the town anything. We've got new weed whackers, so I'm good with that. One caution, I have a very old town truck. The town truck is 160, 170,000 miles on it. It's starting to get cancer as far as the wheel wells. What we did is we did a patch. What we did is we bought the flares to cover it. So you can't see it, but the rust is there. And as John Pike knows, that you're good for a year, maybe.
When the flares fall off, it's time.
Yeah, it's gonna fall off. Just to say, we have to watch the oil on the truck, because it uses, between oil changes, it uses 2 to 3
If you
quarts
don't
of
drive
oil.
it, it won't use any.
Yeah, so, but we're good. I'm hoping that we can all come to an agreement to what kind of an increase we're looking at, but we'll work with you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
And now you want to,
I'll make my turn sweet, how's that, since I really didn't expect that.
we have done nothing. We've done nothing this year on the mill, all right? I think our game plan was the generator. But again, you get nervous about spending that money on a generator here because, God forbid, if something happens that we don't know, we've used that money for the generator.
but you
So,
got the elevator fixed.
yeah. Yes, the elevator's fixed, yes. The elevator got fixed, it got inspected, it took a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I think I won the bet as to how long it took, but yes, the elevator's fixed, and now we're just, yeah. Go, Karen.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Karen Santoro, Town Planner, also in charge of Code Enforcement Building Office. Unfortunately, we're running into the staffing issues as well. In the past year, I've lost 2 clerks, simply because we cannot pay what private sector pays. So the rest of us are kind of pitching in. We've got a part-time clerk in the building office. As Kevin kind of indicated, some of the bigger commercial projects, they've slowed down for sure, obviously. We're also starting to run out of some of the larger parcels that you can develop commercial projects on. But we are keeping busy. We definitely are a busy office. To say that we're two different departments, we're just blended. We help each other out. We've got the new building official code enforcement officer. He's very busy every day with some of the commercial projects that are out there that are currently moving very quickly. Again, we do have some subdivisions that behind the scenes, they haven't started building out yet, but they're moving right along, so that keeps both departments busy. But again, we've been just very, very conservative in what we're doing. My staff has been awesome. Without the clerk, unfortunately, because especially Department of Public Works, when they don't have administrative staff, things like driveway permits and everything else are filtered through my office. So when we're down that clerk, we're all just kind of pitching in. Again, trying to stay positive. We are busy. For every application that comes forward, we've had 15, 20 inquiries. So you've got that background piece that a lot of the public doesn't see, but happens all the time. And again, we talk about education, educating the public, just as a member and, person living in town, talking to the neighbors, getting that out there. Those voters guides were very popular, and even through our office, we were handing them out right and left, but getting people to understand what's going on behind the scenes. But again, like I said, my department, we're just extremely conservative. Unfortunately, code enforcement is one thing that people keep wanting you to, my neighbor's doing this, can you fix it? We can do so much, but without a legal budget, we're limited. We do the best we can, we keep on it, we keep at it, but again, like I said, we do the best we can with what we have. But again, if we go into default next year, we're gonna be hurting. And we were just briefly talking about the building, space-wise, if anybody has walked through my land use department, we need another filing cabinet. We have no place to put it. There is literally not a place to put another single piece of paper in that office, because that's what my office does. It generates plans, it generates, you've got permits, everything else. You need to put it somewhere. So we are definitely running out of space. We're cozy, we'll put it that way.
Thank you. Danielle?
Danielle St. Ange, Parks and Rec. So obviously I don't have roads or public safety or many things in town, but my department was brought back 2 years ago, pretty much on the need from the town to provide services that the town people do directly see. I am lucky in my budget because when it did start, I was able to fine-tune it a little bit over the last couple of years, but I have fine-tuned it just about as much as I can possibly pull out of it at this point. I face the same things. We have lifeguards. I have 2 of them that graduated this year, so I had to train another lifeguard, and I'm going to have to do that again next year. I have every town around me paying $2 or $3 more an hour for their lifeguards than we're paying. They're paying training. We worked that in this year, and I'm hoping that we can stay, but we had to pull some of that away with the default budget. I am extremely limited in this town by the facilities that we have to use. I have a room that's about this size downstairs, and then another smaller room. So there's all sorts of programs and stuff that I'd love to bring to this town, but until the town progresses with its facilities, it's very, very hard, so we work with what we have. This year, my big focus is trying to do as many programs that benefit the most amount of people. I agree that we need more advertising, more education and everything, and I think one of the biggest conceptions that I saw on social media is they think that all of us are from outside worlds and we're just coming to take Belmont's money. They don't realize that most of us are taxpayers in this town too, and we are actually caring about every penny that is spent along the way. The biggest expenses right now that I see coming in our future, we have, and obviously a default year is we have playgrounds that we can't replace right now because certain limitations on what we are able to do without installing other things that have come along with legislation purposes between the time we've installed that. So we need to have rubberized walkways and stuff like that. We have a tennis court that is in disrepair. My most common request is pickleball. So I have Patrick and his crew, and they're doing what they can, and we're relining an incredibly bad surface to reline, but it will at least give them something in hopes that we can pick some things up there. So we're doing everything we can. Our beach houses, that was in the budget last year. We were hoping to replace some of the roofs, those for the gazebos on the side of the beach. They are in some very rough shape. I am only waiting for a tree to take down a couple of those, and they will not be in existence, and we don't have money. I have a $1,500 beach budget for everything we need for the beach this year, besides our lifeguards. We have been lucky enough, last year, one of our biggest things was summer camp, which summer camp is one of those things that's great because it does offset its revenue, but we had issues with younger staff. We have been able to get in some older staff this year, and cross my fingers, we have not had any issues with our summer camp, so that is looking on the horizon of a good direction for the town. And we are able to offset those revenues for the most part. Other than that, I really don't have much. I don't see very many increases in the budget. However, everybody knows that one of the biggest in the public eyes thing that I took was the cut from Old Home Day. I do not see how Old Home Day comes back next year with a default budget. It is extremely hard and extremely limiting as far as what one person can do. We had an entire town come out and say that they wanted to have Old Home Day and they'd step up. I have maybe 2 people at my meetings. So all of that is being held on my volunteer time. And in the summertime, volunteer time is really hard to come by when you're running a summer camp and you're trying to make sure the beach is all set and you're trying to make sure everything else is all set. So that is one thing that will probably take a hit, and I'm warning that everybody from the budget committee and our selectmen, they took a lot of slack for that. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to fit that back in there. Private fundraising has been good, but I really don't see how we're gonna pull that one off next year, so I think that's probably gonna
So
be.
your biggest problem at this point is nobody volunteers?
Yeah, well, everybody volunteered their work.
Right, but they
or
don't
to
show
tell
up.
me what to do for work or things like that, but not very many. I have a consistent 2 volunteers.
Sure.
It's been a very hard year for doing that, so. And again, I don't mind doing it on my own time, but it is very hard when your busiest season of the year is summertime, and that is also the time of Old Home Day. So I think that that's probably my department-wise is going to take the biggest slack as far as if we go into default again. I don't know if I can fight for that part of this back. So I think that's it. Now I can give it over to Donna. The last one left, or?
We got finance hiding over there.
Oh, no, Steve.
I really have much to say. My name's Steve Foster. I'm the finance director here. I would like to say I'm pretty impressed by all the individuals that work in this town. So I started here as part-time, saw a lot of change, people leaving, and then I would say over the past 6 months or so that has been that has stopped. We have tremendous employees now. I'm impressed and super proud to work for this town, even though I live in Gilmanton. I love working with this crew. Will say as a finance clerk, I was part-time. We lost the finance director, so we kind of had a hard time for 6 months, 8 months. There's a lot of volume that comes through the finance office. And so Alicia, Colleen stepped up, massive way, helped me kind of grow. I grew, learned more, etc. We just recently hired a finance clerk. She's amazing. She's helping us, I mean, beyond our expectation, I think. So, so again, I wasn't really expecting to speak tonight. I don't fix trucks or anything, but yeah, I mean, all the bills come through. I see what all the department heads go through. You know, I see our insurance bill from 8 months ago, health insurance, it's up $15,000 a month. Okay, so these things are real. Electric bills are going up. I just got the letter. It's real. Phone bills have been going up. Alicia did an amazing job. A lot of these phone companies had copper lines, and each line was going to go up $100. So Alicia got on that real quick. And so I see everybody working harder than the public, I think, thinks they're working. And that's too bad, really. Then when it comes down to the budget default, which we had last year, you know, Gilmanton has gone through 2 now. And I'm starting to see the services dwindle. And then also, in the minutes recently, there were even more talk about cutting services. An example is the transfer station that we have, that they're thinking over the next year or two, transfer station closes and you have to go to Pittsfield, which is 40 minutes away or half hour away. That trend is happening, and you don't want it to happen here. My view of that is we have one default. It's now easy to get a second default from the public. We kind of have to ease into getting that approved. We're not going to change everyone's opinion. We're not going to educate everyone. Half the population doesn't care. Half the population doesn't vote, right? So we have 20% of the population voting. You think you're going to educate the other 80%? It's probably not going to happen. So I think from a collective standpoint, we kind of have to approach it with the knowledge that people want this default. They're not going to vote for higher budgets. So I think we have to take an approach where we can get something out of it. You know, we can't go for the whole thing. We're going to have to just get what we need. And I think everybody's been working within their budgets and doing that. And again, it's more than impressive. But the town needs to worry that over time things will deteriorate. It happens slowly and then happens all at once. All things happen that way. And gets me a little worried, but I know everyone's working hard. So again, I didn't expect to speak, so I appreciate the time and appreciate everyone's hard work.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the board.
Thank you. Donna?
Really does. He speaks really well. But he's right.
I don't think any of us expected to speak tonight, really. I thought it was more.
Maybe that's just as well.
No, really, yeah.
I think it's awesome.
I think it was more, you know, us listening to the board and where they thought we were gonna be, and then we could walk away and try to crunch numbers and figure out what to bring back. But just the same, as far as me and my department, I'm fully staffed.
Mark's been saying
I
it.
had to say it because everybody's talking about staffing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm staffed, me, myself, and I. Everyone knows what's going on when it comes to the homeless population and how bad that really is. The world is changing faster than any of us can keep up with, and unfortunately, the shifts in the economy, and everyone thinks, yeah, Ron's right. Charge cards are absolutely out of control. When we use one and we max it, we just get another. And then when it comes to essentials, everybody's gonna pay for their charge cards because they don't want their credit to be destroyed. And I'm like, well, how do you do that when you just got another credit card to pay for the 2 other credit cards you have? It doesn't make it's convoluted, but at the end of the day, people are digging deeper and deeper and deeper. We see it with the home sales, you know, everybody wants bigger and better, and then of course taxes go up, and then, I hate to say it, and it sounds prejudiced, but I will say it, the locals get beat up over it. The people that have lived here, raised their families, and wanna stay here are now younger people that wanna buy homes, raise their families, that are renting, which are getting rented out because the housing rental market is just more than insane. And so what do we do? I mean, what do we do? I have a homeless population that is, if you went into my office right now, you would be like, how do you work? I mean, there's just files and files and more people and more people. I mean, it's 16 calls yesterday. It's just nuts. And so we triage priority and just kind of keep shuffling and hope that, you know, we can find people what they need, and those that don't want to be here will move on. In the meantime, I guess we talk about educate. I think, and this is kind of like a hard statement, but everybody knows me, I'm going to open my mouth. So we as department heads present our budgets to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen looks at it, yes, no, maybe you need to crunch this, maybe you need more of that. We finally get to a point where we're like, okay, yep, we get a blessing. Our budgets then go to the Budget Committee. Budget Committee listens, nobody asks questions, not common. Like, you walk away feeling like, do they support me? Don't they support me? I think they will. They all said yay. And then we go through the next department head and the next department head. The problem is I'm gonna be up straight and tell you, I don't think 2/3 of you guys know what we do. I really don't. I think you ain't got enough, but I don't think you have the content that you need, so when people on the street come up to you, you can feel like you can answer them responsibly. I just don't. I think it's one of those situations where you sat in a really important, you took our word for it, but what's behind it? And I think we all need to be educated more, because it's getting uglier and uglier and uglier out here, and part of the ugliness is that if you're gonna have to face our citizens, you gotta be armed with the information, and not only information, but be able to handle the tough, I mean, everybody's gonna need a bulletproof vest. I mean, there's just no question about it. And how do we keep the town running at the level that we need it without bad things happening? I mean, whether it be fire department, police department, emergency services are out of control. Roads, we don't repair them, they fall apart, the cruises, school buses can't go on our roads, I mean, they start, if they don't maintain them. So it's such a snowball effect, and I don't think we, as individuals, educate people at that level. And I think that's part of, and we talk about it, and then how do we do it? I mean, what do we do? Are we doing a newsletter 3/4 of the year and just kind of bulleting out, Craig lost his $750,000. What was that going to be used for? That's a big number in the budget. Was it to support 6 roads, 5 roads, 4 roads? And it sounds like, why do I have to go to that extensive level? You gotta believe we need the money for the roads. At this junction, we're all in trouble if we don't get people to understand what these numbers are gonna do for us, or how we're gonna, PD, they're down X amount of people. Well, what do? There was some creativity where upper management is covering the road and all of that. Well, shouldn't they be doing that? That's their job, Yeah, it is, but who's gonna man them who need to be, and the legal side of it. It's so complex across the board, and I think we all need to get educated for each other. And then I think we have to talk to people. And I don't like my tax, believe me, I don't wanna pay my tax bill. I think maybe I should have a church. They don't pay taxes, I think we are a strong group. I think we all bust our butts. I'm not patting myself on the back, I'm saying it like it is, because we do. I mean, we're all working way harder than we did 5 years ago to do pretty much what we're doing now. And I just think that somehow, some way, it isn't about us as department heads, it's about what the services are that the community is demanding and what it costs to provide them. I mean, I got my little, and how do we do it? I guess we need, before we leave tonight, for you guys to tell us, do we work off of our default budget this year and then just put a little bit more in? Do we build our budgets with a real conservative mode, but kind of be on the precautionary side of, if we go off default, we're in big trouble because we're already behind? I mean, you figure cost of living went up. What was it? 20%. Was it 20? Somewhere between 16 and 20%. So we're behind with the default budget before we even move forward, and then next year's is even gonna be more. So how do we find the medium ground? I mean, do you guys want us working off our default budgets? Do you want us working off a compromise between what we had and compromise?
A realistic budget, what you actually need is what you need to put in there. And then we have to go from there and say, well, we can't afford this, but you gotta tell us exactly what you need. Like Mark said, he needs, you know, more money for the cruises and all that. We gotta be honest with it, and so that people understand that going with the default budget hurt the town so bad, and now we gotta they gotta understand that, and that's life.
With all due respect, Ron, that's what we did last year.
I know, but then you're gonna have to do it again this year.
I understand.
So,
Well, but Ron, how did they feel the hurt? They didn't. They haven't yet, because that's the hardest thing, you know, like, when you say, well, you know, like,
Yeah, they did feel the hurt, we don't have fireworks.
That's it.
there you go.
That's the one point.
Yeah.
No fireworks.
You almost have to work off the default though, because that's what they're going to be comparing it to, because that's what we're in right now. So you have to almost work off the default
And then tweak it
yeah,
and
be super
critical.
conservative on what you know what you guys need.
But Travis, here's a good example. So the police department works off a default. They need 4 cruises next year. Because they didn't get their ones last year, and
Yeah.
they would be adding 2 this year to keep that rotation going, so we're not putting money
Correct.
into,
So
you know.
the police chief comes to us with 4, we might bring it down to 3 for the year, and then we see what the budget committee accepts with that.
Isn't it better for the town for them to see what we really need for the next year, rather than say, hey, we're gonna say we can get by with this, not knowing how far behind we are?
Well, if they see what we really need and they say no, that puts us in a worse spot.
Our
Oh yeah,
people behind.
yes, send us what they really need.
Because we can't educate people if we don't say, this is what they really need and why, and this is why they're behind.
this is how you hurt us last year. It's hurt the town, and this is what it's gonna take to fix it. You gotta be honest with them. They don't understand that, because they all have a budget at their house, and if they put something off, they know they're gonna make up for it next year. The town is no different, but you gotta be honest with them, because, like I said, I'm afraid at the end of the year, it's gonna be even tougher, we're gonna go into recession, but you gotta just be honest with people.
And I'm afraid if you do based off the default, it's going to show them they were right.
No,
And
when I say based off default, I mean they start with their default. Bring it up to what they need, then bring it to us. I'm not saying give us their default.
So what you're saying.
To see the progress of where you got your default this year.
Start at the default and work up.
Yes, and show us what that up is. And then therefore we can have more information to justify that increase.
But that is our last year.
Our education of the public has been poor.
We started last year with those numbers. What we gave you last year is what we needed. Now that number is higher, but our default was our last year's budget, so we can present.
With
you
cost
last
items,
year's
correct.
budget, but-
May I make an observation? We're talking about 2 different things. I'm hearing that what you're looking for is the actual numbers that people need. We're also talking about how we communicate that to the public, which is a PR campaign. That's a separate issue, and you have to look at them separately. Otherwise, you're gonna get really confused and you're not gonna get anywhere. Just an observation.
That's right, I think that's right. So education's a problem, we all agree on that. So I'm trying to think out of the box here, how to approach for the warrant question, okay? That's a big one. Since the warrants seem to be easy to vote down, they're separate items in the budget for the vote. Would it be possible to include the components of those warrants in departmental budgets? In other words, they'd be there by line item, people would see them, but they wouldn't be separated out and have people say, oh no, we don't want that, that's extra. Make it part of the departmental budgets so that it's just sort of.
So what you're saying, I don't think we can, but what you're saying, let's just say the $1 million for the highways.
Yeah.
All right? So Craig comes back in, and what he does is whatever his budget is, let's just say he has a $5 million budget, what you're saying is make it $6 million and put it in that instead of having a separate.
warrant, no separate
I
warrant.
think we have to do
It's
warrants.
it's a separate account.
But then people are gonna say my budget went up 20%.
It's a
No,
trust.
we did that because we started leasing vehicles, because all those vehicles that we buy were separate warrant articles. But since we've leased them, it puts them into the regular budget, and so it's not voted on every time.
So it's in the regular budget and it's not a warrant item.
Because we're leasing them, like.
Well, that's okay, that's all right.
Well, that's what we've been doing, but you can't do that with the whole budget.
Well,
Because RSA's state that you have to put certain things into the budget. That's what we have to go by.
are there certain things that,
I mean, you just can't put the whole budget out there and you vote on it.
no,
That's why
not
you
the
have
whole
warrants.
budget, but I mean on a departmental basis.
You know, you're saying like a $750, put it in the regular budget?
In that department that is responsible for the activities surrounding that expenditure.
Don't we have a separate article to pay for one of the fire equipment?
Every year.
Every year we have to pay for it, but if we don't.
And that's
it
a
goes
separate
back.
article.
But
I think what
they'll
you're saying
repossess it
is-
if we don't pay for it.
I think what you're saying is instead of making that road fund the 750, put it into the operating.
Highway department budget.
Operating or capital, I mean, I don't,
Well,
we,
it's a capital reserve fund, so it's technically a savings account, and
They
now
don't
you're
really read it.
overstating, now you're
okay,
gonna
put
throw
it
it
in
in your
operating, then, put it in
and
operating.
then they'll never really go.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying that, we're not trying to hoodwink anybody, it's just a question of marketing in a sense. Look, this is private, this is what's needed for this department.
You're right, but the problem is, and we've learned this over the years, as we upgrade some things, especially in planning and zoning, as we upgrade it to be in line with the towns around us, so we don't end up as a dump, you might say. The more articles we have, the less they read. And I've cautioned us since then, because you may need these are cleanup articles. They're not spending millions of dollars. You're not buying a fire truck. You're changing an ordinance, and the point is, if you put 3 or 4, they think you're rezoning the town, and you may be cleaning up issues that we have. And the more articles we put in front of them, the more no's we get, because they don't know, and they're uninformed, and they really, rather than think they're gonna vote yes or vote yes and not no, they just say no.
Well, I think that's what Mark's trying to say, is that instead of having, let's just say, we have the highway department, now we have the road, why can't it be combined? So he is trying to reduce it, is what he's trying to say, reduce some of the articles, but I believe, and I'm not sure, some of that legally we can't. Like when the last fire truck we bought, we're leasing, we're not leasing it,
So it's a lease purchase.
it's a lease purchase.
Just dollar
all right?
buyout.
And legally, it has to be a separate article by itself. Now, you have to remember, isn't this where the SB 2 comes into play? We're an SB 2 town, correct?
No, that
And
has,
isn't that where it comes into play?
so that
No?
only changes the fact that the vote isn't taken at a town meeting, it's taken at the vote at the ballot box.
At the ballot, and I believe that's why we have to have those separate articles because of that, but don't totally.
Well, the issue with the warrant article is you can't tax somebody and just roll that money into next year saying, oh, we might use that money for the
Right,
roads.
that's why
And the reason it's a warrant article is these people, the citizens are saying it's okay to take this money and then roll it into that following year. You're supposed to tax people on money used for that year.
Yeah.
So Mark, in regards to the money for the DPW, we might be setting aside each year $750,000, but Craig might say, this year we're using 500, we're gonna leave $250,000, because the following year, that project's gonna take $1 million. So you can't hold on to it if it was in the operating budget.
We've been very
So if it's in the
fortunate.
operating budget, you have to use it.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but is there a separate capital budget for your department?
That's the
That's
And again, another way to look at that was, Craig's plan was to do Middle Route this year. That's what he was using those monies for, because Middle Route needed drain, whatever he was doing. And a lot of towns, they would do is, instead of raising it through, well, they would go out and borrow the money, all right, and then pay it that way, right? So, or bond it.
But you still have to be an article to borrow money.
Yeah.
Right. So we're just not bonding it, we're trying to pay it through
Yeah,
funds,
yeah.
because obviously, when you're bonding it, you're paying interest, and bond rates are increasing tenfold, so.
So basically, what I have right now is I have a capital reserve account for for, highway reconstruction, okay? I have a balance in that account that probably would have done Middle Route, but it would have left us with nothing in the balance. So if something came down the pike that we really had to address, we wouldn't have any money for it. So I wanna conservatively do a couple things this year. So, but if next year that doesn't pass, we will have like very little. You can't use your whole savings account. You know what I'm saying?
If you're adding to it each year, and then
I mean,
you're planning a little bit of it.
I could have probably done Middle Route this year with my account balance, but then I would have had nothing.
Can I ask a question about that? Can we, I know sometimes on our articles it says, you know, do you wanna appropriate $750,000 to DPW? And then the next one says, well, if you voted no, would you appropriate 500? Can we do that in some of those instances?
Yeah, but then you're gonna make it even that much longer.
Yeah.
No,
You know,
that's-
instead of however many we had, 30 something, you're gonna end up with 40 something. I mean, that's,
they're gonna check the 500 off on like anyway, if they got the choice of 750 and
Yeah.
500.
yeah.
Well, that to start.
So, multiple choice. No, but is that 750 also, would that be a problem with the block grant money that we get?
750.
As far as how much we get if we didn't have it at 750?
Block grant money is solely based on miles of road, and,
And that fluctuates from one year to the
Well,
next.
It's paid through the gas tax.
Right.
And
yeah.
different taxes that the state have, and it's a figure that they come up with, which each town is divided by a certain amount of roads per mile, and that's how it's divided in for each.
I know other towns don't get that much, I mean, we get pretty large, that's a chunk of change, 200 grand almost.
But I think most towns, that's about what they'll get. So
Right,
like
yeah.
Gilmington, I know Gilmington's got they get almost a similar amount as we do. But the thing is with block grant, you can use block grant for a lot of different things. You don't have to just use it to build roads.
Yeah.
So years ago, we had a little bit of a balance, so we would strictly just use that on roads. But if we got in a pinch, we could use that for sand or salt or stuff like that, so. But you try not to do that, you try to save your block grant money, you try to put it into roads. So a lot of towns, they take that block grant money, they're buying new trucks and stuff. We've had the philosophy that, and part of the reason why our roads, I think, are good, is we've had the philosophy that when I take that block grant money, we put it in our roads. And that's what we do.
See what would happen if they keep voting that 750 down, and it would force us to go out and borrow money. To
We
say,
still have to have an article to
well, you'd
borrow
have to
money.
borrow a couple, $3 million for road reconstruction.
Down the road, we
And-
have to borrow more money.
If they stop doing that, because the roads would get so bad.
I think the reason they supported it for the last, 15 years or whatever, is because they see the results. So this was a different year, obviously, but I'm just saying, they
Well, I
supported
think
it
a lot of the
because
reason why it didn't get supported is because we have such good results, and the guy that said, gee, my road got paved last year, I'm just gonna vote no.
well,
He doesn't care about that. The guy that lives on, the road that just got paved, doesn't care about the guy that lives on Middle Route. He's like, what the heck, we don't worry about Middle Route, we just got done,
Okay.
Main Road.
One more.
So, Mary Trinley, we have a lot of veteran select boards and employees. When was the last time we were in default? What worked? What didn't work? And can we look at that?
We've never been in default.
somebody asked that question last year.
Not since SB 2, before that wasn't necessary.
I would
But
say
SB 2 was defaulted.
go talk to Gilmanton and see how they're feeling about their 2 years of.
They're in 2 years of it, and it ain't working good for them.
What's that?
Gilmanton, you said they're on year number 2 of default.
So can we discuss the solutions now?
I wouldn't say a solution, I think we're all looking more for your direction, because I'm
Well,
gonna
that's-
be giving the department heads their budget worksheets August 1st, and with my memo that says, per the board of selectmen and the budget committee, this is the direction they would like you to be gearing your budgets towards. So for us and for me and for them, I think a little bit of advice or what you're looking. So far I've heard, keep it tight, I've heard, build it off the defaults, needs versus wants. That's kind of hard when we're building these budgets and going to these talks. So, I mean,
What wouldn't hurt is to put an article in the paper, post in the meeting that we had, to see what we could do to, so the taxpayers know that we're gonna be painful. You gotta tell them up front.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. If you say it's gonna be painful, right off the bat, you've said that, well, then I'll just go vote no, then it won't be painful, will it?
At least still have to be honest.
How many voters we have last year?
700 and something, it was
And
ridiculous.
71 control the vote.
Yeah.
77 votes, that's what you said, right?
71 or 77, something like that.
78 more people now. That voted yes.
Yes, sir.
So how do you get to those 3,000 that don't vote?
Yeah.
So my question is, what other options do we have in terms of, we have to get revenue. So you have grants, you could increase fees on certain things, right?
Yeah, we do, we send you tax bill.
We already did that.
You don't charge people for trash, but you could, I mean, I know.
No, it's in your tax bill.
No, but other towns have a pay for bag type of thing.
People paying
So,
their taxes?
yeah, I think you have to look at other options to
We
to
actually,
show people that-
are a host town for Casella, all right? So actually, we signed a contract with Casella. I'm not sure where we are in that contract. And actually what happens is, when you see these trucks heading to Casella with the trash, we actually receive funds from Casella, I think monthly or quarterly, I think, for the poundage that goes in there.
Is one thing
Revenue.
you wanna do is show some implications for being in default. And part of the implications for default is you're gonna have to charge more for certain things. So maybe by showing that, hey, your choice is either to increase the budget or to pay these extra
So
fees.
doesn't that fall under kind of a threat? If I vote no and end up in a default budget, you're gonna charge me more to get my.
Consequence, not threat.
My,
Consequence.
My what?
Consequence.
Reality.
It's reality, you have to
Yeah.
do something, you have to take some,
Hey, we all got creamed. We all got creamed just for not doing the, fireworks for Old Home Day. It was like, I mean, we're trying to save people's jobs here, and we got bashed because we aren't having fireworks. But what nobody understands is, it takes our highway department, our police department, our fire department, all have to work Old Home Day. Takes the highway department a week after to clean up the mess on the ball field, because it's the school's property. They ain't cleaning up because we made the mess. I mean, it just, no matter what we do, we're, yeah.
To kind of answer your question, this year the board did increase, fees for, building permits and fees associated with the zoning and planning, and that.
Yeah, we did.
Increase that after, a while. We go after every grant possible, but grants are short-lived. That might, cover a small bit of an expense for 1 year, 2 years. We did go for the SAFER grant for the fire department. That was 2 employees or 3. So if we wanna keep those 2 employees, let's just say that was a $750,000 a year. You wanna keep those employees after the grant, that's $750 going into your budget that we haven't been paying for these 3 years, that now the taxpayers are gonna see a $750,000 increase and say, oh, not understanding that we've had them for free for 3 years. So yes, we go after every single grant that we possibly can go after. It's short term, it's not gonna cure
And
everything for the
unfortunately,
long run.
our departments that are going after these grants, they don't have grant writers. And these people are putting in endless hours, because grants are, if you don't dot the I, you get rejected. I mean, they're brutal.
They're hard.
They are, there's no,
And
and we are lucky, we have received a lot of grants. Our departments have worked hard that way.
I think what the department heads should do, give us an honest budget. We'll see what happens in September, because there's elections coming up with the national scene, and all the other people's attitudes may change a little bit, and see where we are there. And then they said, like they normally do, give it to you, you decide what you wanna do, give it to the budget committee, and that's the way it's gonna be.
So I don't have to agree with Father Time, but I do agree. Not to be confused with my.
Easy.
I would rather, as a budget committee member, see by any stretch of short, but maybe Colleen's notes would be better than the ones I made too. I think, listen, I can go for a minute. I'd love to see some of her minutes come from this meeting for people to actually hear some of the fallout of what has happened from a default budget that people don't see, besides we don't have fireworks. I think that they don't see that, and not trying to put anything more on Colleen's plate, because she is a saint. But I know she's got good minutes, and each department has given us more than one thing that has affected their department, and thus the town and their services, just to start people saying, look, we just had a joint board committee, and this is the stuff that came out.
Well, and I suppose that we could definitely pull something together and put it in the paper as a, as a letter to the Belmont, to the editor. I mean, we can sign it. We get bashed, no matter what we do, we get bashed. And so, what's one more? I mean.
I will say though, during the default budget for the first year, it's like Steve said, you're not gonna feel it till the next.
Oh, of course not. We're not gonna feel this.
So this year, we've got stuff, we can supply from a little bit from last year and stuff like that. But next year, that's when we're gonna be in trouble.
The unfortunate thing is, I've had more than one person tell me that we're in a default this year, but it's gonna take us 5 years to recuperate from this 1-year default.
If we can even get
If we can, right, if we can get the budget
If we can
passed.
reach 100 people that didn't vote last year to get them to go out and vote, then maybe we wouldn't be in a default budget. That's my target range.
If you don't tell them what we've been trying to do tonight, they'll never know. So you have to tell them.
So the gentleman that does the recording of the meetings in Canterbury, I think his name is Edgar. He does the school board and the Canterbury Planning Board and the Canterbury Select Board meeting, and he literally posts his video of those meetings right on Facebook. But he shuts the comments off. So you can only watch the video, you can't run a commentary.
And that's a great thing, but we've been here for 2.5 hours, and most people aren't gonna listen to the whole thing.
Probably not, but.
Bullet with it about the specific departments, and then if somebody wants to.
Yeah, he does do that.
I listened to one school board, but I didn't last.
I mean, another option would be to create a video summary of this meeting with all the key points in it, sort of from the summary minutes, and have that video available for people to watch. Put it on the town website or something.
Or a prepared press release.
It is, yeah.
Or a prepared
Yeah.
press release. So that the press doesn't get their swing for anything more than our facts.
Yeah.
I want to personally thank all the department heads for giving us the input. That's what we need to know where we stand.
And as a taxpayer in Belmont, I personally appreciate every one of you for all that you do for the town. And for me personally, I would like to see what you all need versus what you just want. And I think you've all done a very good job of doing that and presenting that, and I thank you personally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sheila, what she
Yeah, I agree
wanted
with
to.
what Jesse said, the same thing. I appreciate what I heard from all the departments, and I'd like to see a realistic budget as well presented and what you really need. And it's been very helpful to hear all the department heads talk today.
I think it's up to us to be able to get it out to the public and promote it. I think it's up to you to present the budget.
And the other thing is that what Donna talked about, one of the members, she said, you just vote and don't know really what's going on. Well, what's happened over the years is that the budget book used to have a lot of scenarios in there or what the departments needed. And a lot of times you look at a department, all there is the numbers and not what's happening in the department. I would see probably more effort put into
Explanation.
explaining to the boards what they actually need.
And a good example, obviously, the police union did not pass. So that's gonna have to be on again this year. Because we can't keep doing what we're trying to do to keep our policemen employed. I mean.
think that's one of the things people didn't understand. Where that money to keep
the contract going was going to come.
Because I think the highway only passed by 7?
15.
15? I know it wasn't a lot.
Well, not only, and not like police, but it was all your non-union staff too,
Yeah.
so if we
But when
want.
it comes to the education part, they probably didn't realize that our brass is not a part of that union. That money had nothing to do with our leadership there. That was their issue
absolutely
with
a big
leadership.
thing.
It has nothing to do with you guys, no offense. It's your work, your actual officers out in the
I
public
call
that
them
they.
the worker bees. The worker bees.
No offense, you guys work, it's
No,
different
but
worker bees.
The worker bees are what got,
We've made it look too easy.
And the other thing is,
Would you
budget committee members, when you get the book, study it before you come to the meeting, so you don't have to ask questions, or you know what questions you really need to ask, and a lot of it's explained in the book, so saves time, so we get more time to talk.
Come prepared that week with your questions for each individual department head.
Right.
I think that people and the boards, both selectmen and the budget committee should come to the department. I don't know about you, but I would love you guys to come into the firehouse and see what's going on.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
I know
Every
Ron
member-
stops by all the time.
Take the time to go with it.
different years. So I would love to see, I'm
Go
there
sit in town hall
6
for
to
half
4
an
in
hour.
the afternoon. I will.
you're right. Go, you,
I've known 2 of the people that have gotten done personally in the last 6 months, worked for Karen, and they were like, wow, we never in our wildest dreams could have imagined that this was this intense, this busy.
I mean, I walked into town hall and the hallway's like, it's one after the other, people waiting. And that doesn't count the people that have gone into land use or down back or whatever. It's crazy. It is busy.
I can personally say
Our
our department is twice as busy as it was 5 years ago.
Our employees, we are so lucky as a town to have the employees that we have. Because a good example, Danielle working so much time on her own, and I'm sure everyone else does too. I'm not trying to just, but we are so lucky to have the people we have, because I don't know where we'd be. And we're lucky that everybody's volunteering to be on these boards, because it's brutal. Volunteerism is a thing of the past. It's sad. It really is. I mean, look at the old fox we got sitting here, right?
Hey.
I was talking to these two.
I just told them, I said I'd do it for the money.
Easy.
I've been only doing it for 50 years.
Yeah.
See?
Thank you, everybody, for coming. This was, I think, everyone's got a
Like a
little.
dinner.
Look out for your emails and mail. We'll be starting our budget meetings probably the first week of November.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, Selectmen's October.
And the problem is with that, is we are gravitating, trying to get our health numbers and our insurance numbers and.
I assume my sister is.
It is, I've moved down.
That was.
And I went, oh, you don't be mad, so.
They're in between.
Sorry, excuse me, I need to shut off the recording.
Well, that's another 2.5 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Let's do this again tomorrow. No?
Are we offline?
Let's do this again tomorrow.
Oh, in the corner.